Thank you for joining this presentation for the Trolley Crescent retrofit. My name is David Linster and I'm a partner at the Planning Partnership in Toronto. My firm led a team of specialists in the design of the streets in the West Donlands and Underpass Park for Waterfront Toronto and the City of Toronto. The focus of this study is Trolley Crescent between St. Lawrence Street and Corktown Common. As many of you know, Trolley Crescent is designed as a special type of street. It's modeled on a Dutch prototype called a Wunnerf, which is essentially a shared street where pedestrians, cyclists, and other vehicles intermingle in the same space. In this case, however, the street is designed with a pedestrian-only zone separated from the shared roadway area by a line of trees, as illustrated in this photograph. Because of the pedestrian priority nature of Trolley Crescent, we deliberately designed the street without parking. We knew there would be visitor parking in the garages and other streets in the neighborhood. We did provide for drop-off areas at the entrances to the buildings, and these will be maintained. We have seen, however, that illegal parking along the edges of Trolley Crescent has persisted, and temporary measures including curb stops and other barriers were introduced to prevent vehicles from occupying the pedestrian-only areas of the street. And again, you can see here that condition of the cars parked between the trees. We've also understood there are vehicles driving into Underpass Park. Aside from controlled vehicular access for the farmers market, community programming, and maintenance, there should not be vehicles in the park. With all this in mind, we've been asked by Waterfront Toronto, the City of Toronto, and Councillor Wong Tam's office to develop integrated design solutions to prevent vehicles from illegally parking on Trolley Crescent and from entering the park. I'm going to present our ideas, and I'm interested in getting your feedback. This zoning diagram illustrates the different edge conditions along Trolley Crescent. North is on the right side of the drawing and south is on the left. In the middle of the page, Lower River Street divides the site into east and west sides. Beginning on the west side of Lower River Street in pedestrian zone 1, we know that cars were perpendicular parking between the planters on both the north and south sides of the street. This condition has been temporarily mitigated by the placement of temporary curb stops, and you can see them in this photograph along the park edge. This is the proposed plan for a permanent solution for this section of the street. On both the north and south sides, we're proposing adding to the existing light standards, bollards, bicycle rings, no parking, and no parking signage. These will prevent cars from parking between those planters, as you can see here. And they are the red symbols on the plan. This is an example, obviously, of the light standards that are there today. An example of removable bollards. In this case, the missing tooth in this photograph, taken down at Sugar Beach. Proposed bicycle rings, and no parking signs. It's important to acknowledge here that the farmers market vendors gain access to the site from Trolley Crescent in this area. To accommodate this, we're recommending removable bollards that can be unlocked for the event and locked back in place along that edge of Trolley Crescent that I just illustrated in the previous slide. Along Lower River Street, numbers 3 and 4 on the plan, we're intending to use well-placed signage, garbage receptacles, and bike parking rings, again, to prevent vehicles from entering the park. These are the areas we understand the vehicles are entering from. They're essentially jumping the barrier curb along the edge of the street and enter through these columns. We're also proposing a secondary access point for market vendors and maintenance vehicles at the south end. Again, we're looking at installing a gating system, either with a swing gate or removable bollards that can be locked in place. On the south leg of Trolley Crescent, east of Lower River Street, a similar permanent strategy to prevent vehicles from parking will be employed. In this area, we've identified 2 special conditions. The first is a potential drop-off zone next to the park to enable parents and caregivers of wheel-trans to offload and not block traffic. That's number 5 on the plan. illustrated in brown there. We've also identified an issue that's arisen from our stakeholder meetings to date. That's the potential for sound attenuation within or adjacent to the park in proximity to the skateboarding and ball court related activities. This intervention is not part of the scope of this project and will require further study. That's number 7, identified in yellow on the plan. These are photographs of this section of Trolley Crescent looking east towards Corktown Common. This is the area we are considering for the drop-off, but in a parallel configuration as opposed to perpendicular that you see here. The area of the courts under the overpass. And the plan itself identifying, as you can see there, the parallel parking zone for the drop-off, as well as the furnishings, including no parking signage, bike rings, and bollards. Of course, the existing driveway that I showed earlier in the presentation. And this is that site furnishing. Of course, the lights, proposed bollards similar to those that already exist on the site, bicycle parking rings, and signage. At the intersections of Trolley Crescent and Corktown Common, there are 2 triangular paved areas that have become de facto parking spaces. These areas were intended for pedestrians and cyclists. We're proposing installing a line of bollards similar to those used the drop-off areas of the nearby condominiums. You can see the location of those bollards on this plan, following the radius of the street. And again, that detail used in other parts of the plan. Along the edge of Corktown Common, labeled number 9 on the plan, has become a mud strip caused by vehicles parking on the planted park edge. We propose placing Armorstone seating intermittently along the edge of the park to prevent parallel parking, but still allowing pedestrian movement into the park. You can see here that condition. The location of the Armorstone with no parking signs along that edge as well, and those gaps between the Armorstones to allow for that access. This is an example of the Armorstone configuration, the Armorstone seating edge. This is taken at the intersection of Lower River, King, and Queen Streets. Finally, the northern leg of Trolley Crescent extending from Corktown Common to Lower River Street. This area has similar parking issues to those on the southern extension. We propose treating the area in a similar way. Existing condition there today, and an important servicing door. Introducing no parking signs, bicycle parking. Of course, you can see there the existing drop-off zone and the painted arrow at the garage door entrance. Example of the bollards again that we'd be employing. Bicycle parking infrastructure, the existing lighting, and a painted symbol on the ground to alert drivers to not park in front of this important entrance. That concludes my presentation. Please let us know what you think. We're looking forward to your feedback.